We encourage our students to be leaders wherever they live. Today, a spotlight is on a student that I learned about from an amazing educator in Oman who subscribes to the Cool Cat Teacher newsletter. Sophia is a student in Oman who decided in the summer of 2020 to create a virtual summer camp full of learning. This show tells us a lot about teaching, learning, and engagement in online learning spaces. So I hope you'll listen to Sophia, a student in Oman, in episode 736, how a student held a virtual summer camp in summer 2020 and what it teaches us about learning.
Welcome to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast, hosted by author, educator, speaker, and mom, the Cool Cat Teacher, Vicki Davis.
Today, we're talking with a remarkable young lady. Sophia is a sophomore in Sohar, Oman, and she started a virtual camp last summer of 2020, for the children in her neighborhood to provide summer activities around art, science, STEAM, drama, and getting ready for school. So, Sophia, tell us a little bit about why you started this camp and a little bit about the camp.
Well, I did this camp during quarantine, during the middle of quarantine for us. And it was mostly for me just trying to find something to do with my time because I needed to figure out something to do instead of sitting around my apartment. And I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me about, because she's a second grade teacher, so she has contacts with a lot of the parents nearby where we live. And they were saying that their kids they're so bored at home. They're always trying to find things for their kids to do. And so I came up with the idea, maybe I could have some sort of an online summer camp where I could just give them activities, just fun, simple activities, maybe some learning activities for them to do during the summer, just to give them something to do. And so every week I had a different subject, and I would just try different methods. But I liked sending out a slideshow, like a colorful slideshow. I would send it to their parents, and they could give it to their kids, because at our school, the students know how to use iPads and know how to use slideshows. And so I sent it through there, and I would attach videos of me speaking and other videos explaining the activities. And then at the end of the week, we would all meet, and they would share the things that they had done or the things that they'd learned, what they liked. Yeah, that was what we did.
So tell us a little bit about the ages and the number of students you worked with.
So it changed as we went along. I started with about 7 students, and then at the end, I think I had 11 or 12. And it was going to be ages 6 to 8, but then kids started bringing their siblings in. So we had some younger kids, older kids. So we ended up with a pretty varying age group.
Fun. So what were some of the activities and what were the kids' favorites?
I think our first week that we had an art week, and which I'm really glad that we started with that, because it was nice for me and nice for the kids it was all fun stuff. We had a science week later where it was more experiment and learning, and it was less to present on that end of week online meeting that we would have. And so I think it was nice to start with the art week because there were a lot of activities for them to do. I had some origami things and dream catcher making and puppets. A lot of them made really cute puppets out of paper, out of socks. And then over the next few weeks, I think that they liked the science week a lot. I had a lot of them come in for the meeting that day, because they didn't usually all come in for the end of week meeting. But during the science week, it was, I believe, 9 of them came in, and they all shared what they'd learned, and they'd taken pictures. So, yeah.
And so this was completely optional. They just did this because they wanted to.
Yeah.
See, that's what I love about this, because you chose to teach because you wanted to, and they chose to come because they wanted to. So what kind of things did they learn in Science Week, for example?
Okay, so we had one experiment that I sent out. It was mainly experiments. I had to change some of the experiments a little bit just to make them more suitable for younger kids. And I realized quite immediately, during the first week, that I am not very good at speaking to young children. My mom is a second grade teacher, and so I had her going over my slideshow, just saying, you have to change this. They won't understand this. But by the science week, I had that worked out, so that was good. But we had an experiment about putting a bag over a plant, and they would see the water droplets that would form on the inside of that bag due to the water released from the plant. I had one where they had different colored paper. They would put an ice cube on it to see how fast ice melts on different colors. And I believe I had 5 experiments that they did, so 1 for every day. And I think most of them did all of them.
That's awesome. So you also had a mentor, which was your mom. So I love that because you're learning from your mom how to be a better teacher. And so what did you learn from this process?
I think that one of the main things that I learned was just how to speak to younger kids and how to make presentations that were engaging for them, because I wasn't able to be online every single day with them. And so I had to do a lot of it just through videos of myself. And I got better at making those videos and sending them to them so that they looked more engaging, and putting more colors in and less text, just so everything looked more appealing to young kids. And I have a newfound appreciation for my mother's teaching, because I found myself frustrated at times just trying to figure out how to communicate these concepts.
So that's awesome. So you found that less text, more colors. How about you on camera? I assumed you had yourself on camera. Did you learn anything about what made you a more engaging teacher through video?
Definitely asking the kids questions, as many questions as I could think of, because during the first 2 weeks, there were a lot of awkward silences that happened during those meetings, and that was mortifying for me. I wanted these kids to feel entertained, to feel like they could speak freely, which they started to feel more comfortable, I think, as the weeks went on. And so as long as I kept asking questions, they would stay engaged, and I would ask them about what they'd done, where they'd gone, because people were still traveling, trying to travel during quarantine. And so I would ask them about where they went and what they did on their weekends. So even if it wasn't all based on the activities that they'd done, I just wanted to make sure that they still felt like they could be talking, even if they'd already talked about what they'd made and what they'd learned.
I love that. So you realized that you wanted to try to get them talking about whatever, and then they would talk about the subject you were trying to teach.
Yeah. Yes.
See, that's a great concept for teachers. I hope that all of us are really listening to what Sophia is telling us, because she is modeling for us that all of us can learn to be better teachers online, and how she's changing up the videos, how she's getting the kids to converse, how she's leveling up rapidly to see what works and what engages the kids. So, Sophia, if you could name a moment where you're like, this is why I did this, like an exciting moment, what would that moment be as you recollect your virtual summer camp leadership experience?
I think that my favorite moment, it was pretty much right away. It was during the first week when all of the kids came in and it wasn't a ton of them, it was only 6 of them. And they came in, and I was really nervous because I didn't know if they enjoyed the activities. It was the first week, and I hadn't had much communication with them. And so I was really nervous about what they'd done and if they thought that it was fun. And I came in, and first I noticed that 2 of them brought their siblings into the meeting with them and said their siblings also did the activities, which made me so happy, because even though they weren't a part of it originally, they were interested in it, and their siblings were interested in it, and they got involved also, which is really exciting for me. And then so many of them did the little projects that I sent out, and they presented them, and they seemed excited. And then after the summer camp finished, I got messages from a few parents that said my child wasn't able to join, but they did make these things that you sent out. They made the dream catchers, they made the puppets. And so that was really nice for me, just to see that they were enjoying it. And so that was a great way for me to start during the first week. Gave me a lot more confidence over the next 4 weeks.
So what's next for you? Are you going to do this again next summer, or what are you thinking you want to do for your leadership and learning experience?
I think that if I can do this next summer, if I think that it's something that would be really nice for kids again, I would like to do it again, because I think I'll feel much more comfortable than I did the first time around. Even though I got less nervous, I was still nervous every single time that we had those meetings. And I was nervous sending out the presentations, but I think that they really did enjoy it. And so I do think I would do it again if it seemed like it would be good for the community.
What did your parents think about your summer project?
My parents both really liked the idea, and they always were encouraging me to put more things into the presentation. Both of them helped me a lot during the 5 weeks because they're both teachers, so they both gave ideas. And I think they were both very excited about it the entire time that I was doing it, because I think that they were also very excited that I had something to do, because I had been sitting in my bedroom for 2 months at this point because I'd only just finished school. And so I think they were really glad that I had found something to do that was also helpful for others and made other people happy.
Well, I have some thoughts for you, Sophia, just as a teacher. I just want to tell you that, first of all, we all need connection. And instead of sitting around in your room just being sad, you can connect. You chose to make a connection experience for younger students, which I think is very admirable. I also admire that you overcame your nervousness, that you sought wise counsel in your mom, that you sought advice, that you were always trying to learn and you were figuring things out. And also that you're transparently reflecting on your learning journey, because this is going to help others as well. And I think the last piece of this, Sophia, that brings me joy is that these are not easy times, but when you are a light in dark times, you shine all the brighter. And, you may just feel like, it was 12 kids, or you started as 7 or it's 12. But the fact is, you are one person who made life brighter for 12 other people. And that's admirable. And even more because you got letters from the parents of the kids who didn't necessarily join the Zoom. So I hope that you continue to be a leader who makes the world a brighter place. And educators, I hope that we listen and we learn from Sophia, because there are kids all around us who are finding opportunities to serve and encourage and share. So Sophia, as we finish up, there may be some kids who are listening to this and say, hey, could I do this like Sophia did? Sophia, how do you encourage kids to get started with their own virtual summer camp or their own virtual experience for kids?
I think that anything as small as just a short video of yourself speaking, or just a couple of projects for kids to do can be helpful, especially right now when sometimes there really is not much to do when you're stuck at home so often. And it's not that difficult to just send it out to a few people, ask if they can send it out to other people who think that they might want to participate, which is what I did. I sent it out to 4 people, and then I had 12 at the end of it. And it doesn't have to be something that you worry about, something that you stress yourself out about, because you're just doing this to help people. And if it's just anything that you can do can make people happy.
Well, that's awesome, Sophia. Do check out the show notes. You can learn some more information about Sophia. And Sophia, good job. And thanks for sharing the story.
If you enjoyed today's 10-Minute Teacher podcast, why not subscribe on iTunes? You can also catch up with Vicki on Twitter at CoolCatTeacher, or level up and learn with her blogs and free resources at CoolCatTeacher.com. Thanks for listening.